after these short prayers to the spiritual master. And also let me take care of the participants who are joining us so that they don't stay in the queue any longer. Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sja He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakant Namastute Tapt Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Welcome once again, those of you who are joining us on Facebook, as well as those of you who are here on Zoom with us today. And we're going to get started with chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. And we'll continue on from where we left later, or in the beginning of this year, and which is verse number 62. So before we go in there, I just wanted to quickly want you to go and grab your notepad, the electronic text pad, and tell me what is the name of second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The count begins now. What is the name of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Dandat Pranam to Jai Lakshmi Mataji and Vidyavadu Mataji. So Komal Radhe Mataji has given her answer. Khyati Mataji also says that with some capitalizations thrown in. Fantastic. So does everybody agree with that? All right. I also have answer from Aruni Mataji. Khyati Mataji is also giving us the answer in Sanskrit, which is right. So contents of the Bhagavad Gita summarized, and primarily Sankhya Yoga, where Krishna talks about the soul primarily, but he also talks about the mind. And in these verses, in the past few verses, we have been talking about the mind, which is the sixth sense in our body. Okay, so let's look at this. Dhyayato Vishayan Punsam Sangasteshu Pujayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Vijayate. And looking at the synonyms here, dhyayata means while contemplating. Remember, dhyan means to contemplate. Vishayan means sense objects. Pumsaha, of a person. Sangaha, attachment. Sangaha is attachment. Teshu in the sense objects. Upajayate develops. Sangat from attachment. Sanjayate develops. Kamaha desire. Kamat from desire. Krodhaha anger. Abhijayate becomes manifest. So let's see. Take out your pads and tell me, what is contemplate mean in Sanskrit? If you were a Sanskrit speaking person and somebody asked you, what is contemplation? What would you say? So Komal Radhe Mataji says Dhyayata, Dhyayate, says Varshana Mataji, and both of you are correct. And can you tell me that what is the word for the sense objects? What is sense objects called in Sanskrit? Vishayan, very correct. And now, can you tell me how many knowledge acquiring senses we have? Khyati Mataji says 5. Anybody else? Sutapa agrees to that. Sadhna Mataji says 7. Aruni is questioning whether they're 8. And the correct answer is we have got 5 knowledge acquiring senses. And now I want the names of those 5 knowledge acquiring senses. What are the 5 knowledge acquiring senses? You can give them one at a time. You don't have to type all 5 of them together. Just start trickling your answers in. What is the 5 senses? What is the 5 senses? So Khyati Mataji says there is a nose, there's eye, and there is skin. And Varshana Mataji says is nose and eyes and skin and ear and tongue. And that is the right answer and the complete answer. Very good, right? So we are talking about the senses here, okay? Okay. And then now we are here, we were talking about objects, the sense objects. And what was the Sanskrit for sense objects? Without looking at the book. Vishayan says Sukumal Radhe Mataji, and that's correct. And now you gave me the 5 senses. Now please tell me what are the objects of these senses. So give me one sense. Let's take one sense. So what is the object? Let's take the sense organ ear, which is the most powerful sense organ. So what is the object? What is this sense object trying to see, trying to seek? What is the object? Sound. Okay, so you got that. Similarly, what is the nose seeking out? Aroma, like that. Okay, so let's see what this verse tells us over here. It is saying that while contemplating, and I hope I'm sharing with you. Am I sharing? Yes or no? An answer on the keypad. You all have to be nimble and swift. Keep your hand on the keypad as if it's one of those buzzers. Okay, sorry. Yes, thank you. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment to them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. So actually, there are two verses that go one by one, side by side. There's 62 and 63, but we'll take it one at a time only. So today we're going to focus on this. And I'm going to read from the purport of this particular verse. And it says that one who is not Krishna conscious is subjected to material desires while contemplating the objects of the senses. The senses require real engagements, and if they are not engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, they will certainly seek engagement in the service of materialism. In the material world, everyone, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to say nothing of the other demigods in the heavenly planets, is subjected to the influence of the sense objects. And the only method to get out of this puzzle of material existence is to become Krishna conscious. Lord Shiva was deep in meditation, but when Parvati agitated him for sense pleasure, he agreed to the proposal, and as a result, Kartikeya was born. When Haridas Thakur was a young devotee of the Lord, he was similarly allured by the incarnation of Maya Devi, but Haridas easily passed the test because of his unalloyed devotion to Lord Krishna. As illustrated in the above mentioned verse of Sri Yamunacharya, a sincere devotee of the Lord shuns all material sense enjoyment due to his higher taste for spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. So, spiritual enjoyment in the association of the Lord. That is the secret of success. One who is not, therefore, in Krishna consciousness, however powerful he may be in controlling the senses by artificial repression is sure ultimately to fail. For the slightest thought of sense pleasure will agitate him to gratify his senses. Om Tat Sat. So now let's go a little deeper into this verse and contemplate on this on this verse here. Okay? So basically, this verse is saying that we have got senses, and these senses are going to run after the sense objects. And if I start thinking about these objects, then I will develop an attachment to them, right? And sangaha, it was said in Sanskrit, the word was sangaha. So develop an attachment for them. And once you develop an attachment for them, then there is a lust, a desire to enjoy or to possess. And once you have that lust, which is kama in Sanskrit, if the lust is not fulfilled, then anger, which is the younger brother of kama, krodha, younger brother of kama. So first kama is born, and then krodha is born if the kama doesn't get satisfied, right? So if we start to contemplate on this, right? Now, thinking about something, and then your senses are roaming here and there, and you have already been thinking about it, so it'll catch that attention, right? For example, if you enter into a room, you might see everything which is there in the room, or you might not see everything which is there in the room. Okay? Now, if I tell you that, please go into the room, and there is a golden necklace which is kept. So already your contemplation has started because I planted some ideas, right? There's a golden necklace. So, from previous samskaras, how does a golden necklace look like? So, that part, right? And so now your eyes are seeking their golden necklace. So you will see it. If you don't see it as soon as you enter the room, you will start roving your eyes to see where is it. You'll start opening the drawers. And that is where your karmendriyas come into picture, right? So in the beginning, it was just the eyes that were looking for some object. And if they don't find that object, so the frustration is building up, or the curiosity is also building up. And so the other sense organ, which is the organ that does the work, will reach out, and even before start opening all the drawers to see where is the golden necklace, like that. So senses are reaching out, and senses and objects are there to catch our attention. So this material world is full of objects that will catch our attention. So take out your pads again and tell me, what are some of the objects for which catch our attention or your attention? And let me see the answer that I'm getting here. Phone. Okay, good. That was the trending answer. Okay. Shopping catches attention. The act of shopping, which means that basically certain things like food and clothes, says Aruni Mataji, glittering things catch your attention. Right, right. Now, so yes, these things catch your attention. Now, how do kids catch your attention? Browsing on the internet. Internet catches your attention. Objects on the internet catch your attention. By crying, they catch your attention. By doing mischief, they catch your attention. They try to catch. By crying or laughing, they'll catch your attention, right? Okay. How do adults catch other adults' attention? Tantrums, yes. And is that the answer to children, or was that an answer to kids attracting attentions? Okay. So adults attract attention by yelling, by shouting, by domineering. Yes, very right. By throwing tantrums. Can you give me an example from scripture of an adult throwing a tantrum? By very good manners, very right answer. Very good answer, Ernie. Yeah. From the scriptures, an adult who was throwing tantrums. Vidura, how did Vidura throw tantrum? Can you elaborate on that? Duryodhan. And how did Duryodhan throw a tantrum? And I was looking for a particular answer, and Sulekha Mataji gave us that answer, and that is Kekai threw a tantrum and immediately attracted her husband's attention, right? And others also have thrown temper tantrums at various times. Yes, so adults also go and attract other people's attention through those things. Okay, now when you mentioned that your mind goes here and there and gets attracted by other objects, does the television attract anybody's attention? Okay, an honest answer. Thank you. News. Okay. What else? What else is on television that attracts our attention the most? Can you elaborate? The visuals, color, okay. What else? The music on the television, what else? Make-believe, movies. What else attracts your attention immediately on television? News, ads, exactly, advertisement. The advertisements are there. They have that special music, the special sound, the special visuals, the special effect, a catchy tune. And then they will sometimes go and touch a particular part of you. Some advertisements will instill fear inside you. Did you have life insurance? Like that, right? Some will have some kind of a promise, let's go to Hawaii, $75 flight. one way. They might advertise it like that, right? So there are so many ways in which this material world is just catching our attention. Things are there, they are blaring at us. There's, of course, television, there is Facebook, there are billboards. While you're driving on the freeway, even you're not left alone over there, right? All the time they are there, they are there. And then all these things, what happens that these things, when you see this, when your eyes fall on them, in any case, the eyes are looking for objects to see, and they see a big billboard, and that's it. Now the billboard is gone. You have already driven past the billboard, but you are still thinking about it. You are thinking about that thing that was there advertised, and you may plan to buy it or possess it like that. Okay. So we have to remember that whatever catches your attention, and I said that earlier also, whatever catches your attention catches you. Whatever catches your attention catches you. Think about that. Whatever catches your attention catches you. So that is why earlier in this verse, Krishna was suggesting that be like the tortoise. Be like the tortoise, and just withdraw all your senses, because if your senses are roaming, and they roam and they catch something, and then that thing is going to catch you, because then you'll start contemplating on it and various kinds of ideas and plans. And where attention goes, energy flows. There you go. So once you start pumping in your energies in that direction, and you do not get the desired result of that contemplation, then anger arises. That is why Krishna had said that the anger is because we are frustrated in our attempts to possess it. And there's a lot of frustration designed in this material world for us, so that we'll quickly turn our faces towards Krishna. So when our attempts are frustrated, we get angry. And that's why Krishna says that, karmarneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Right? You have a right to perform your duty, but you should not be focusing on the results of the duty. Because if you're focusing on the result and the results are not met, then anger arises. Okay. What are the effects of this anger will come, subsequently in the next verse that we have. But suffice for us to understand that it is what, if we contemplate, then we'll get attached to that object, and then we will be angry if we don't get that. So in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, in the purport to the last verse, which is the 20th verse of chapter 15, says that, Varshana Mataji, close the book and listen. So in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in verse number 20, Krishna talks about the two weaknesses of the heart. The two weaknesses of the heart, right? And the two weaknesses that the heart has got is, number one, is to enjoy the material world. This is our desire. Our desire was to enjoy independent of Krishna, and this material world has been created and is there to allure us. We have been given 5 knowledge acquiring senses to get all the knowledge about, or as much knowledge about, the material world, so that we can enjoy in our limited way. So we have this tendency to enjoy and to possess it. These are the two weaknesses of the heart, right? For example, we might have a desire to drive in a very nice car, right? And we don't have that car. But guess what? Our neighbor has that car. So we have a friendly relationship with the neighbor. Sometimes we go out together. I enjoy the ride in the Ferrari that he has or she has, and it's good. I feel good. Then one day, I have the desire to drive the Ferrari, go out on a drive on the Ferrari, and the neighbor is not there. And that's when the thought will be planted that I should have my own Ferrari. And then all the things follow. You have to now look for a new job, you have to work harder, you have to do this, and that. Right? So these are the two weaknesses of the human heart. And that is to enjoy matter and to possess the matter. So the idea is to cut it off, these sojourns of the senses into various directions. Try to cut them off in the beginning itself, right? How about not even look in the neighbor's driveway, which is a very extreme. But in general, I'm just trying to say that, don't look and contemplate on objects of the senses with the idea that I'm going to enjoy. And so that cutoff is what was talked about in that verse on be a kurma, be a tortoise, and cut off all your bring and withdraw all your senses so that they didn't go. But then what happens is that the desire still remains. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. So it says that, okay, you are withdrawing your senses. You're saying, I want to look at the Ferrari. And the moment you close your eyes, your mind goes, Ferrari, Ferrari, Ferrari. This is what it is. So it says that artificially trying to control our senses or to withdraw or to cut off the connection of the senses with the sense objects is not going to be fruitful to you. Why? Because the senses are designed like that. The job of the senses is to go and seek the sense object. This is how they are designed. Now we are trying to cut off the design. We're trying to say, close your eyes. Now, if I ask you all to close your eyes, and I don't tell you when to open it, within a few seconds you will open your eyes, because that's how the eyes are designed. So if that is how the eyes are designed, then what we need to do is Vishaya vinivartante, right? So what it says is rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. So although you are cutting off your senses, but if the taste to enjoy still remains there, then that's not good. So what you have to do is to develop a higher taste. If your eyes want to look at beautiful things, then go and look at the most beautiful thing in this creation, entire creation, and that is Lord Krishna. You want to look at beautiful girls, look at Radharani, right? Like that. So we have to remember that senses are there. We cannot deny the fact that we have got senses. We cannot deny the fact that the whole world is outside us trying to attract our attention, right? And what we have to do is that, okay, tortoise is taking shelter of its natural situation, right? It takes shelter of the natural situation. Lord has provided him with a nice little, shell that it can withdraw. We can't. We are completely exposed. We don't have any shell, right? But there's a difference between us and the tortoise, right? While the tortoise has got very sharp instincts, we also have got instincts, right? You take a boy and a girl together and put them together, they know what to do, right? The instincts are there. But we have got something which is higher and which most of the animals do not have. And can you tell me what that is by typing your answers? Very correct. So I got two answers, Achna and Sukomal Radhe Mataji, and she's saying that there is intelligence. We have got the intelligence, right? So yes, intelligence, intellect, right? And intelligence is of two types. A person tops in the board exam at the age of 16 or 17 when we're giving the high school exam is termed as intelligent, right? And then that child then joins a prestigious college because of the marks that he got in high school. And then college means parties to some of them. And then he starts doing things that he was not doing earlier, for example, drinking or drugs. So what happened to the intelligence? This was an intelligent child who knew all the mathematical formulas, he knew everything, right? So there is material intelligence, and then there is spiritual intelligence also. So we also have to go and look at and sharpen our spiritual intelligence, because we want to get out of this cycle of material entanglement and this material world which is burning us all. It's like a forest fire. And forest fires burn for no reason. There's nobody that goes and strikes a match and then sets the fire forest to fire. They seem to happen for no reason at all. They just happen. And it's very difficult to get out of a forest fire because it's very, very fast, right? So that is why sansara dava nalalila loka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatam praptasya kalyana gunanavasya vande guru shi charnarvindam. So if we are caught in this fire of the material world, which is as bad as a forest fire, we need somebody to take us out of it. And the person who takes you out of it is your spiritual master. And that's why we bow down in humble obeisances to the spiritual master who's going to take us out of this situation. What do I do with these senses? How do I develop a higher taste? Guide me, teach me, tell me, talk to me, like that, right? So the spiritual master is going to guide you towards sense gratification. It's okay to have sense gratification, but do it in the right way. Don't go and cook loads of food and then gulp it down yourself. Think of Krishna first. Make some bhoga, offer it to Krishna, get the prasadam, distribute the prasadam, and then you also have it, right? So it's not that sense gratification is 100% denied, but you have to do it in the right way. And who's going to tell you the right way? The guru, the sadhu, and the shastras. So they have to be triangulated. All three of them have to say the same thing: the guru, the sadhu, and the shastra. Okay? So they're going to guide us into how do we get out of this place over here. Okay. Okay. And then we know that there are senses, and the senses draws outside. And how many senses we have? You told us 5. And then we had this very fine verse that we talk about, matanga bringa verse, right? So does anybody remember? These were examples that we gave of a person who was just lured by one sense. We have 5 of them and they died because of being lured by one sense. Do you remember which animal it was and what sense they were attracted to? Patanga, yeah, Patanga, the fire. But which sense, Varshana Mataji, which sense? Which sense took it to its, yes, the eyes, okay? And then bee, what did the bee do? What was the bee after? What sense? The nose, right? To smell something, all right? Anybody, any other thing you remember? Bee, nose, smell, okay. Then, okay. Elephant, what did the elephant want? Okay, the sense of touch, very correct. And then what else? Fish, yes, sense of taste. Yes, very good. And which senses are we missing now of the 5? Sense of hearing, very correct. And which one was that? Who got killed because of being lured by the sense of hearing? It was music, that this animal tries to listen to music and gets caught. No. Wanting to hear. Frog makes the sound. It's not necessary that frog wants to hear it. But this animal is attracted. Deer, very correct. The deer, the hunters will play very beautiful music and the deer gets mesmerized. And somewhere I was reading that it gets so mesmerized by the music that at the time when it dies, and I don't have shastric evidence for that, so just take it with a pinch of salt. And but it's a hyperbole. Um, So it says at the time of death, so the deer gets allured by the sound of music, this beautiful music, and it's mesmerized and it's enjoying it. And then the arrow comes, right? And of course, it's dying. And as it's dying, it's just saying that, oh, you music, you're so beautiful. I want my skin to be used to make mridangam so that there can be more music out there. So that's how our thinking faculty also is lost as we are going there, right? So this is the real knowledge. This is the real intelligence to be able to understand that things like that are there. Now, no politicians or no leaders of the world, or no, big philosophers are going to tell us these things. They discuss other things like, molecular attraction and things like that, right? So there's a prayer, that Prahlad Maharaj talks about in 7:9:40 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm just going to bring that up here, and we'll just quickly read this also. So, and I should share my screen first before I do that. Okay. And please tell me when you're able to see the screen. It should show you the Prabhupada's Veda base with the verse there. And he's saying that, oh my Lord, oh infallible one, my position is like that of a person who has many wives. And what do you think? If a person has many wives, what do you think they're going to do? If a person has got many wives, what will they do? Let's see if I have any answers coming up on the chat. The man will be confused, says Prasharavataji. He'll be stressed. They'll call him. Yeah. The man will be confused, right? And what will the wife be doing? They will call him. Actually, each of the wife will try to bind him to her, right? And if each one of them have got a bedroom, they will try to drag him there. Right? And the man as a consequence will be overwhelmed, right? I mean, even Krishna had to expand himself into 16,108, right? To be there exclusively for each wife. So that is how our senses also are. That's how they behave. Okay, so continuing on, so he says that, my dear Lord, O infallible one, my position is like that and of the person who has many wives. And am I sharing it with you? Yes, I think I am. Okay. All trying to attract him in their own way. For example, the tongue is attracted to palatable dishes, the genitals to sex with an attractive woman, and the sense of touch to contact with soft things. The belly, although filled, still wants to eat more, and the ear, not attempting to hear about you, is generally attracted to cinema songs. The sense of smell is attracted to yet another side. The restless eyes are attracted to scenes of sense gratification, and the active senses are attractive elsewhere. In this way, I am certainly embarrassed. And in the purport, Prabhupada says the human form of life is meant for God realization. That is the important and the only purpose that we have in life. But this process, which begins with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, hearing and chanting of the holy names of the Lord, is disturbed as long as our senses are materially attracted, and the disturbance will come in the form of anger. And anger destroys your devotional service. Therefore, devotional service means purifying the senses. In the conditioned state, our senses are covered by material sense gratification. And as long as one is not trained in purifying the senses, one cannot become a devotee. In our Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, we advise from the very beginning that one restrict the activities of the senses, especially the tongue, which is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as most greedy and unconquerable. Where does Bhaktivinoda Thakur describe the tongue as most greedy and unconquerable? Can you tell me that? Where does Bhaktivinoda Thakur tell us that the tongue is the most greedy and unconquerable? Prasadam prayer, says Khyati Mataji, correct for 600 points. Sharira Vidya Jal, this is a network of ignorance. Sharira Vidya Jal, Jodindriya Tahe Kal, and that there are Indriyas. Jive Fele, Vishaya Sagare, Jive Fele, that this Jiva, the soul, Jive Fele Vishaya Sagare, has fallen into this ocean of senses, Vishaya Sagare. Tar madhe jivayati. In the middle of that is the jivya. Lobha moe. Lobha moe means? Sutapa, you have to tell us it is Bengali. Lobha moe or anybody else is a Bengali scholar? Lobha moe. Sudurmati. Sudurmati. Right? So it says that it's greedy and unconquerable, right? Sudurmati is, bad intention. The jeev will make you do that. Jive fele vishaya sagare tar madhe jivayati lobha moya sudurmati takhe jetha kathina sansare. Jeta, kathina sansare. Jeta means to conquer. Jitna, right? To conquer, it's very difficult in this material world. So we we make that prayer before we, guzzle down the prasadam like that. So to stop this attraction of the tongue, one is authoritatively advised not to accept meat or similar uneatable things, not to allow the tongue to hanker to drink or smoke. Even the drinking of tea and coffee is not permitted. Similarly, the genitals must be restricted from illicit sex. Without such restraints of the senses, one cannot make advancement in Krishna consciousness. The only method of controlling the senses is to chant and hear the holy name of the Lord. Otherwise, one will always be disturbed. As a householder with more than one wife will be disturbed by them for sense gratification. Right? So very, very powerfully and very, very, um, you know, um, emphatically pronounced by a young boy of the age of Prahlad Maharaj. But then the question is, okay, so you have told me that I have got so many wives, but the question is that how do I control my wives? You're telling me that they are going to give me grief. And then the one wife is the most vicious, right? The tongue, because she does dual purpose. With, she also enjoys the taste and she also talks, right? Like that. So tongue is dual purpose. So to twice the strength, this enemy has got twice the strength. And so we need to do twice the vigor there, right? We need to take an extra effort on how to conquer this tongue which is there for us, right? So let's see. There's a very nice verse. I'm just trying to recall where that verse is. Let me just look up over here. Yeah. So let's first see Chaitanya Charitamrita, and because we are in the mood of going towards the Gaura Purnima, so I just thought that including one verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita would be a good thing for us to do it. And actually we're in luck because it's a dual verse. And it says, Jivera Swarupa hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, Krishnera Tathashta Sakti Bheda Bheda Prakash, Suryam Shakirana Yeche Agni Jwala Chaye, Swabhavika Krishnera Teen Prakara Shakti hoy. It says, it is the living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna. This is very important. Jivera Swarup hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das. This should be our, the slogan for our life, that I am a Jeev, but I am a servant of Lord Krishna. Right? So in the living entities to be eternal servant of Krishna, because he's the marginal, tathastha Shakti of Krishna. And marginal means that I am spiritual, but I have a tendency to fall over into the material world and get attracted and to forget the fact that I'm spiritual, although so many verses in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 talk about the soul being spiritual in nature. Right? And he's marginal energy of Krishna and a manifestation simultaneously one with and different from the Lord, abheda bhed tattva, right? Like a molecule, particle, or sunshine or fire, right? So what is the sun? A ray of sunshine is the same as the sun. A small spark of the fire is also the same as the fire. Similarly, I, the Jiva soul, am also the same as Krishna, qualitatively, but quantitatively, there's a vast difference, right? And Krishna has got three varieties of energy: spiritual, material, and the marginal energy, where we all reside over there. Right? So how do we control our senses? And that is a very nice, there's a very good example that is given in our scriptures. And there was actually a king who had had a very nice regimentation by which he was controlling all his senses. And that was King Amrish Maharaj, right? And what he did was that he engaged his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. He engaged his tongue in describing the abode of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord, and so on and so forth. And then again, he engaged his tongue, which I said is doubly vicious, by taking prasadam, chanting Hare Krishna. And once you start to control your tongue, that is the beginning point. It says, Athashi Krishna Namadi na bhavet grahyam indriye sevan mukho hijivhado swayam ev spuratya ada. So once we know that we are the eternal servants of the Lord, I have to somehow figure out how do I reach my master? How do I find out more about the master? Having made that particular decision, I want to see Krishna. I want him to be manifest before my eyes, because everywhere I'm hearing about Krishna, he's Paramatma, he's there in Golok Vrindavan, but my eyes don't see. And I want him to manifest. That's my ultimate goal, that I should be able to see Krishna. So, but as much as we try hard with all these senses, right? Na bhaved grahyam indriye. Grahyam is all the senses. If you take all your senses, right? Eyes, nose, can I smell Krishna? How does he smell? Oh, he smells like musk, like that, right? So even if we try to open my eyes and scrutinize and close them and see and open them and see, you won't be able to see Krishna. Grahyam indriye. Right? Athashi Krishna Namadi. Na bhavet. So Krishna and his name, etc. You cannot, you will just get them by exercising your material senses. Na bhavet grahim indriye. So what do I do then? Like I've got senses which are blunt and are not the right instruments to see the Lord. Then it says, wait a minute. We can sharpen your instruments. And how do you sharpen your instrument? You start with your tongue. You conquer the worst enemy first. Okay, then I will take care of the smaller enemies. Because if I start with the smaller enemies, then the big one is going to come and attack me and I'll be killed in any way. So let's focus, put all my energies against the bigger enemy. And so, Athashi Krishna Nam Adi Na Bhaved Grahyam Indriye Sevan Mukho Hi Jivha Do. You have to serve the Lord. How do you serve the Lord? Adau, in the beginning. You serve him with Sevan Mukhohi Jivha Dava. Jivha means your tongue. So service to Krishna first starts with the tongue. Sevan Mukhohi Jivha Do. And once you start serving the Lord with your tongue in two ways, as Maharaj Amrish did, by chanting the names of and glories of the Lord and by honoring the prasadam, right? By doing that, then Swayam Eva Spuratyada. Spuratya means to manifest. So this Krishna that we are running after, and you want to see him this way and that way, this way and that way, Krishna himself will get manifested. You have to just start taking the first baby steps. Start serving Krishna with your tongue. Sevan mukho hi jivha dao. Jivha adao, jivha dao. It becomes like that. Okay. So I'm going to stop here. We have got 10 minutes there to take some reflections and probably a question. If I can't answer the question, then we'll pick up again the question again tomorrow. And so let me make the settings here. And so if you have anything to share, just unmute yourself, ask your question, share your reflection, and then in the end, remember to mute yourself again so that the other person can speak. All right. So let's see. Anything that struck your mind that you want to
Hare
get
Krishna.
away from this 50-minute of monologue, followed interspersed with a chat there?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I really like the point which you rightly said. Whatever catches your attention catches you. So this really struck my mind. Like if we try to, you know, attract, I mean, give our full attention and focus to Krishna, then one fine day we'll surely catch him. I mean, we'll get his, we'll attain the love of Godhead. That is the main aim of all the Jivas souls.
Very nice.
Thank you so much for bringing this up, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, that is similar to where attention goes, energy flows, right?
Yes, yes. And I think Sadhana Mataji said that. And Sadhana Mataji had also asked a question. I was just going through the chat list to see if there was a question there. And you can post your questions on the chat also. And Sadhana Mataji was asking this question, which is that when we hear about the senses getting you away and we hear about Shivji, and Prabhupada gave that example and he said that Lord Shiva, he was in meditation and then Parvati came and agitated him, right? So that example is actually proving that is he the best devotee? Yes, he is the best devotee. But we have to remember this, that even if you have the best devotees, still you can get carried away. And Shivji is, and this instance is not the only instance. There was Mohini Murthy also, right? And then Shivji is not the only one. I mean, of course, he's the best of devotees, but we also have story of Vishwamitra, right? And Subaru Rishi, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. So these stories are actually emphasizing and telling us that don't try to get cozy in this material world. Don't think that, maybe because I got initiated, so now I've got my senses under control, or maybe because I've memorized all the chapters of Bhagavad Gita, so now my senses are under control. The senses have to be constantly kept under control. And it's at a very late stage of devotional service that you will be able to, sort of start to feel safe or behave safe. But Prabhupada, one person had asked Prabhupada, that when he was praying, after he prayed, one of his disciples asked him and said, Prabhupada, what were you praying? And he said that I was praying to the Lord that I don't fall down. But he said that, Prabhupada, why were you praying for that? You are a pure devotee of the Lord. You will never fall down. You are Achyuta. So he said, that is why I pray. So a devotee at the level of Prabhupada is still praying to the Lord that please make sure that I don't fall down like that. Okay. Then I saw some hands being raised here. Okay. So Kumal Radhe Mataji. So if you can use your hand raising device on Zoom, then it becomes very visible, because I might not be looking at you on the screen, or you might not be visible to me on my screen like that. So I might miss some hands. So I see, so Kumal Radhe Mataji has raised her hand physically. So Kumal Radhe Mataji, you can also raise your hand using the touch on the Zoom, so that I'll see a yellow thing. Like I see a raised hand against Sadhana Mataji and Varshana Mataji's. If you look at their gallery, you see they have a raised hand like that. Okay. So let's see. So I'll go in that order, left to right on my screen. So Sadhana Mataji, the Varshana Mataji, and Sukumal Radha Mataji, all in the next 7 minutes. So let's get going. Sadhana Mataji, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think my question was just to follow on, if we have an example of very exalted, even like demigods that are so close to Krishna falling, and then you talked about Srila Prabhupada, it means it's such a massive, like an unattainable goal, right? It puts it such a high level, like beyond reach. That's kind of worrying, Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I do. And if you notice that in the same verse, in the same purport where Prabhupada is giving, after he gives the example of Shiva, whose example does he give? He gives a positive example. Shivji's was a negative example. Haridas Thakur. So it is achievable. And when was Haridas born? How many years ago, roughly?
Around 500 years ago.
Around 500 years ago, right? So 500 years ago means bang in Kali Yuga. Bang in Kali Yuga. In the middle of Kali Yuga, he's there. And he was able to overcome. So that is what the Chaitanya Leela is telling you, that it is possible. It is possible. People have gone back to Godhead. People have, and here bar has been lowered for us. Shivji has a higher bar, and in this instant happens in a different yuga, not in Kali Yuga necessarily. So bars are higher there, and also elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam it says, in 5th canto, actually, it talks about how Shivji is handling the modes of material nature, and Brahma, passion, Shivji, ignorance. And it says that when you are handling, so although they say that they handle the mode of ignorance, but they are above this. So it doesn't mean that Shivji is in the mode of ignorance, right? He's a devotee of the Lord, so he's doing goodness, definitely in the mode of goodness. But it says that Prabhupada says that because they handle the mode of good ignorance, because they're handling it, they're managing it, that sometimes you get affected by that. That says, doctors can get affected by the, if you're treating somebody for a long time, then the doctor can also catch that disease. So sometimes it happens like that. And then sometimes, Krishna will also do his Leela. And through this Leelas, the idea is that, don't ever get into like, I am something and I can do something. And, I am the doer. And is it a difficult goal? It is a difficult goal. It is a difficult goal. That's why we have to be very careful about, not to waste our time in devotional service. Bahunam janmanam ante, jnanvan mam prapadyate, vasudeva sarvam iti, sa mahatma sudurlabha. So he says, Bahunam janmanam ante, after many, 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 many births. Jnanvan, those who are seeking knowledge here and there about the Lord, about who is the absolute truth. Jnanvan, people, knowledge. Jnanvan mam prapadyate. Then after many, many births, they seek surrender of the Lord. Right? And then, Vasudeva sarvam iti. Vasudeva is everything. Krishna is everything. The one who thinks like this, that Krishna is everything, sa mahatma sudurlabha. Such a mahatma is very difficult to find. So at least the good news for us, Sadhana Mataji, is that Bahunam Janmanam we have done already because you have come to the stage where you're saying Vasudeva Sarvamiti. You have come to that stage. So past is gone, past is gone. We can only look forward and take inspiration from Haridas Thakur. And you will go back to Godhead. And a devotee, like I said, the devotee doesn't care where he is. The devotee is not very much interested in going back to Godhead. Prahlad Maharaj was not interested in going back to Godhead. He said, I want to stay back here and take care of this quote unquote fools and rascals. As Prabhupada translates that. Vaishana Mataji. Tell me. You are muted, Vaishana Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for the very nice class. Mataji, like the fire, takes no time to burn the forest. Same way, our senses also take no time, if we have no control over them. That time, you said that a guru, sadhu, and shastra will help us come out of it. Mataji, this is absolutely right. But sometimes, Mataji, our association also helps a lot. They can catch hold of us and take us out of that. Is that correct?
Yes. But just association is not enough. You need to have a guru. Like
Not enough.
Pivot. Yes. Right. And Sukumar.
And I really like the point, Mataji, of Amrish Maharaj, that like you see, as he controlled, we can also control over our senses, though we do not have any shell like a tortoise, but still we can also win over, first of all, the taste and the tongue. We have to catch hold of this and rest will follow.
Very good. Yes, very good point. A very good point. And always remember that the subtle is stronger than the gross. Subtle is stronger than the gross.
Oh.
And we read about the hierarchy, or we have been repeating the hierarchy about lowest is the dull matter, above the dull matter are the senses, above the senses is the mind, above the mind is the intelligence, above the intelligence is the soul. And sometimes you see when we watch these Mahabharata and Ramayana, all these things on the television I used to watch, right? So you will see that one Rakshasa has thrown, or somebody threw, and there's a fight going on between two people and somebody throws a spear and the other person just shows his hand and the spear, goes back at the person. So what happened? There was a spear coming at you, which was gross, right? But you did something, and you didn't, use a shield or anything to deflect the spear or the arrow that was coming at you, but you did something which was subtle, which others could not see. You did something with your hand. Some power flew from your hand and it was able to deflect it. So subtle is much more stronger than the gross. So that is why they say that if you want to rectify these things, first rectify the subtle. First rectify your mind. First cleanse your mind by Krishna Katha. And then everything else will follow along, follow suit. And Sukomal Rate Mataji for the last
Thank you,
question or reflection of the day.
Yeah, you said Srila Prabhupada was always, even though he was such a pure devotee, he was always very careful. And even though he had shunned all the material in sense or enjoyments, he was still so worried about falling down. And he was already in Krishna consciousness. And so if someone is not in Krishna consciousness and even they have a very strong will to control their senses, but they will not succeed because eventually won't the material thing overtake them? It will overpower them just by not being in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, and especially if we harbor negative things, right? That I'm going to fall down, then you will fall down, right?
But even
But
if you think you're not going to fall down, you will, right?
no,
Because
no. See, that's what I'm
no,
saying.
if you're not in Krishna consciousness,
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Not in Krishna consciousness, definitely. And that is why we're
that's
saying that. Yes. So, rasavarjam rasapyasya param drishtva nivartate. So, the Krishna consciousness that you're talking about is that higher taste that you have to develop. Is the higher taste that you have to develop. And that will save you. Rakshasiti iti vishwaso. One of the 6 limbs of surrender to Krishna is to have that faith that Krishna will protect me. And even if we fall down, which means that, we overindulged in eating something and, we watched a little bit of television here and there, it's okay if it happens. The idea is that to be aware that we will fall down, and the thing to note is that how quickly do you get back up? That is very important. And that's why Krishna says, Api chet suduracharo bhaste mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya. That if some devotee has fallen down, you should still consider them to be a devotee. Why? Because they will come back. They will get up again and they will do that. Okay? So I know that there are a few hands raised, but if you can forgive me today for abandoning because I have to go for my other duties. But please note down your question and we'll pick it up tomorrow, because tomorrow the verse that I'm going to take tomorrow is the continuation of this, that after Krodh comes, right, from unfulfillment of our desires, then what is the next step there? Okay?
Thank you, Shraddha.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Patitanam Pavnebhyo
Patitanam
Vaishnavebhyo
Pavnebhyo
Namo
Vaishnavebhyo
Premanande Hari
Thank
Hari
you so much,
Bol.
Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Have a fantastic day. Keep the
Thank
senses
you.
engaged.